Have you ever watched a professional badminton match and caught yourself wondering, is there actually a perfect body type for this sport? Well, I'm super excited you're here because in this explainer, we are taking a really deep dive into the fascinating biomechanics of badminton. We're going to uncover whether your physical build literally dictates your destiny on the court. So we kind of have to start with the elephant in the room, right? Does height actually matter? I mean, is being incredibly tall the absolute, undeniable requirement to totally dominate the game? Well, consider Victor Axelsen towering over the net at 194 centimeters, and juxtapose him with Akane Yamaguchi, who stands at 156 centimeters. That is a massive 38-centimeter gap. Yet both of these unbelievable athletes have hit the world #1 spot. And honestly, this just brilliantly proves that elite success in badminton comes in completely, radically different packages. Okay, Section 1, the tall player advantage. So the real secret sauce to the tall advantage is a concept called longer levers. In biomechanical terms, your limbs essentially act as pivot points. And because a taller player's limbs are naturally longer, they generate significantly more force. Plus, they can reach much higher contact points with a shuttlecock. What does this actually look like in a game? It's pure physics and geometry. Those high contact points create insanely steep smash angles that are just an absolute nightmare to defend against. On top of that, their long legs mean they can literally cover the court in 2 strides instead of the 3 a shorter player might need. And intercepting shuttles at the net, it's almost effortless for them. Now here's a crazy little detail about serving. In the pros, there's a super strict service height limit of 1.15 meters. But if you're playing by amateur rules, you can serve right from your waist height. Which means if you're tall and playing at your local club, you're getting a massive baseline advantage just by leveraging your natural waistline to attack the serve. But hey, being a giant isn't a total free ride. There is a hidden cost here. Taller players have to manage some pretty massive physical forces. The research actually shows they endure immense joint contact forces. We're talking at the ankle, the knee, and the hip every time they do an explosive takeoff. To stay stable with all that extra body mass, they rely on incredibly refined hip coordination. They're actually using smaller hip angles but massive joint velocities just to keep their balance. All right, let's flip the script. Section 2, the short player advantage. For shorter players, it essentially all boils down to one crucial thing: center of gravity. This is the decisive biomechanical point that dictates a player's stability and their ability to change direction rapidly. A lower center of gravity creates this incredibly grounded, stable frame. And frankly, that is a total nightmare for a taller, lankier opponent to deal with. Think about it like this. A tall player faces severe energetic challenges. They have high mass redirection and massive energy drag. Just turning a tall torso around is physically exhausting. Meanwhile, a shorter player, they get instant pivoting. When they lunge, there is virtually zero loss of balance, which lets them snap back to their base position lightning fast, expending way less energy. And you see this dynamic perfectly in the drive game. When that shuttle is zipping fast and flat right over the net tape, shorter players can just crouch slightly and rip these powerful flat exchanges overhead. But tall players, because of that high center of gravity, are caught in the exact same spot, being forced to awkwardly bend their knees and hit these weak underarm returns. Moving right along to Section 3, the reaction speed myth. We found this incredible quote in our research that definitively puts this debate to rest. Reaction speed is independent of anthropometric traits. Basically, that means the speed at which your brain and your nervous system process a shuttlecock flying at your face, it has absolutely nothing to do with your height. None. Take a look at this number, 0.462. This is the exact p-value from a scientific study that compared the reaction abilities of tall players and short players. Now, in the statistics world, a p-value this high is a big deal. It definitively proves that there is zero meaningful variation in reaction speed between different height groups. So if it isn't height, what actually drives your reaction speed? Well, it's things like neuromuscular fitness, visual tracking, targeted neural processing drills, and independent coordinative skills. The big takeaway here? Reaction speed is a trained skill. It's not some genetic lottery you win at birth. You can build it up no matter how tall you are. Okay, Section 4, hidden body type advantages. This is where it gets really fun. Let's look beyond just tall and short at this body type matrix. If you have a lanky build, you actually get coverage without movement. Your racket is there before your feet even fully commit. Stocky players, they have incredibly compact rotational power. Interestingly, skinny fat players benefit from loose muscles and tons of stored endurance. And heavy players, they generate absolutely unstoppable momentum. Let's actually zoom in on those heavy or bulky players for a second. Because of their thick muscle mass, they generate a shockingly heavy shuttle. When they smash the bird, it physically hits the opponent's racket harder. This forces the defender into early, panicked positioning just to handle the sheer physical and psychological pressure coming at them. But on the total opposite end of the spectrum, skinny players leverage near zero physical drag. Because they just have vastly less mass to move around, they achieve this unmatched, instant recovery speed. They can basically reset to their base position before their opponent has even fully committed to their next shot. It's a massive tactical edge, and it's built entirely on a lack of bulk. Which brings us to our final section, weaponizing your genetics. So, how do the pros actually optimize their builds? Well, tall players use a very specific action plan to survive those grueling rallies. Number 1, they hire movement specialists. 2, they train hardcore core stability. 3, they actively artificially lower their base stance to mimic shorter players. And 4, they strictly manage their body weight to keep drag low. They aren't just relying on their reach. They are actively training to minimize their lanky disadvantages. And shorter players, they have their own brilliant ways of compensating. First, they use incredibly compact swings to disguise their shots, which creates massive deception. Second, they target their tall opponent's body directly, jamming up those long levers we talked about earlier. And third, they aggressively exploit that low center of gravity in fierce net drives to completely neutralize steep attacks from above. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one provocative thought. Think about your own game. Which hidden biomechanical weapon are you going to unleash on the court? The science clearly shows us there is no perfect body out there. There's only perfect optimization. So it's time to stop fighting your genetics and start weaponizing your own unique build. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and keep learning.